name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another Indie April video. And my Indie April took a gigantic left turn. My husband and I got the call that we'd been half expecting, and now I am self-isolating with a small child. You will not know anything about said small child. You will not see them. I will not say any names. Just know that if I seem more addled and tired and get a 1,000-yard stare at the words "go fish," that is why. I also gave up vlogging because, again, you cannot know anything about said small child, and it seems kind of pointless trying to regularly film myself when there's another being in the house that I literally have to make sure is never on film. So we gave that up, and also caring for a child in your home for the first time while also in the middle of a pandemic is a lot, but I still wanted to bring you more content, and it is very serendipitous, the video I had picked out to do this week, because it is all about the indie authors that are torturing me, and yeah, part of me is feeling tortured right now. I mean, just so much go fish. Anyway, so what I mean by indie authors torturing me is these are all indie authors who I have read from before, and they have another book at some point coming out that I dearly want, but it is not out yet. And so I am going to project all of my angst on them and make it their fault, because that's where I'm at in life right now. So let's jump right into the list. First up is Summer Kiska. I read the first in her series, the Shane Ashby series? The Shane Ashby series. Only words. This is about a 20-something witch who has been cursed, and also someone's coming to kill her. But because she is cursed to only have a certain number of words left, and all magic uses words, she's in a bit of a time crunch. There's also a lot of emphasis on sisters in here, and I have been waiting for the sequel to this for so long. And I did learn that the name of the sequel is Only Blood, and that there will be more emphasis on sisters. I got that as like a sneak preview from Summer Kiska when she sent me more bookmarks, because I lost the one she originally sent me, and I need it because I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I loved our love interest, who was an adorable soft boy. I love me a soft boy. I love how incredibly innovative and lovable that Shane was, and of course the whole emphasis on sisters low-key broke my heart, and so I'm hoping the sequel will kind of put it back together. But I have no idea when it's coming out. I would not even know the name of it if I had not been told in that same card from Summer Kiska. So she is 100% torturing me. Up next, the next author that is tormenting me is D.N. Bryn. I read the first in her, yes, her series, Our Bloody Pearl, the first in the These Treacherous Tide series, and again, I adored it. I recommended it to other people. I recommended it to Brody from A2 Brody, and they love it. I can't stop talking about it. It is a fantastic steampunk pirate adventure with an insane amount of diversity in it, and I loved our either non-binary or genderqueer protagonist. I never nailed down which, and also our asexual representation and the WLW representation. It was awesome. I loved all of it, and I believe she has written the next one in the series, which I believe is called Our Petty Poisons, and I'm in love with that. But she mentioned that she wanted to actually get most of the series more or less written out before she released other books, just to make sure that she doesn't stumble into any plot inconsistencies, which means that it's even more tormenting me, because I know it exists. I know the story in completion exists somewhere, and it's out there, but it's not where I can get it. So it is just absolutely torturous, and I'm annoyed, but also really excited. Up next is a book that I don't think has a title as of right now, and this is from Laura Diaz de Arce, and how she is tormenting me because she told me that she is writing a sci-fi story that is, in her words, brujas in space. Now, for those of you who may not be aware, a bruja is basically a Latinx witch character, but in space. And I am trash for anything in space. Space operas are my jam. And especially, I'm excited for this one because I loved Laura's sci-fi in her short story collection. Monstrosity has some fantastic sci-fi that's not only innovative and forward-thinking, but it's also really steeped in culture. And I've mentioned it before, but a lot of Western sci-fi tends to have this idea of culture being something that you need to move past and like evolve beyond. And so having a sci-fi author who wants to infuse culture into this is fantastic. And also, my own voices Latinx list is still pathetically small, so I need to get that a little bit bigger, even though it would just be a repeat author at this point, but that's fine. I loved her work before, so a full like space opera from her would just be fantastic. And I don't think the book is finished yet, but it doesn't help that I have a closer relationship with Laura, so like I have the means to pester her about it, and I try to be a good kid and not pester too much, but like, you know, maybe just a little sometimes to spice up the friendship. But seriously though, I need it. The next author that is tormenting me is Gillian Maria. I read her delightful book, The Songbird's Refrain. This is a queer body horror with like 90% queer woman cast, which I adored. And this one is a standalone, so the next book coming out is not any kind of extension of this one. It is a WLW romance called Fairbrook Bridge. Yes? Yes. So, it is about, it's a very standard contemporary romance, YA romance, I believe, either YA or new adult. And it is basically all about the contemporary romance. And I love that because for all that this book has a majority queer woman cast, it is rather light on the actual romance aspect, where most of the romance is either just in the beginning stages as the book ends, or it's like angsty and tragic. So I really am looking forward to a purely cute contemporary romance from her. I loved it, and I believe the release date is sometime in 2021, which is really far away for an indie author, especially. Most indie authors will usually release the book within 6 months, more or less, of it being completed after editing and such. But I'll try to be patient. I'll try. I've read some excerpts and stuff, and Gillian has released some, like, you know, fan art type stuff of the characters, but I need it. Next up is and back to the sequels of other stories, and this time it is Casey White that is torturing me. I need the sequel to her Halfway to Home series. I read the first one, Unknown Horizons. Adored it. It had one of the coolest like power sets that I have ever seen of a sci-fi protagonist. I've never seen anything like it before, and I low-key wish it would become a trope because I love it. And I have not heard yet when the next one will be coming out or what stage it's in. I know this copy of it was actually kind of a rebranding thing, so she might be like going slow at getting the next one out. We must make sure that this one is really like taking a foothold, but I need it because it was just so good. And I also just forever need more space operas in my life for all time. So the last one is the most obvious. If you have watched more than 3 videos on my channel, you have heard this name before. I almost guarantee it. The last author that is tormenting me is Meg Stovall. And for once, she's tormenting me with 2 books. Now, the first I will talk about is the 4th in the Frith Chronicles series, because the last one of that series, which was a 700-page chonker with an insanely angsty but awesome ending, that set up the next book to be this epic race against time to save the protagonist's life. I need it, but I'm not as tormented by that because I know she's going to get that one out relatively soon. She has gotten out 3 Frith Chronicle books in a year. Dead serious. I reviewed the first one like midway through last year, and then I just got the third one. So like, I know within like 2 months I'll be getting the next one of that, or maybe a little bit longer, but it will not be that long. No. The real torture, and she knows this, the real torture is her sci-fi. That's right. I am still waiting for the sequel to Starmark Rising, Starmark Vendetta. And I know why it's taken so much longer than the Frith Chronicles, because YA fantasy is just infinitely easier to write than adult sci-fi. And don't at me, it just is. There are a lot more conventions with YA fantasy than adult sci-fi. But I need it. Oh, I need it so much. I have needed it for so long too. I read this in January of last year and adored it. And it was the book that started everything that got me on this super ultra indie centric path that I have taken that led me to doing this Indie April. But I still don't have the sequel. And I'm so sad because this book ends with an explosion and a character that did not deserve what they did to me. I mean, they didn't do it to me, but they did it to me. And I need to see them get their comeuppance so bad. There's a reason the title of the sequel is Starmark Vendetta. And I need it. And I have talked about needing it for a year. And it's crazy because it is the longest sequel I have gone without. But it is one of the ones like the top of my list. It is at the top of my most anticipated reads, even though I have no idea when. And it's like, and also low key, Shami has talked about making me a character in one of her books. And since this is my favorite of her series, even though I've only read 1 book to the 3 I've read of the Frith Chronicles, like seeing me as a character in it would just be so cool. Although I'm fairly sure that if I am a character in it, in any book in this series, it would probably be in the 3rd one moving onward. Because I'm pretty sure, again, that Starmark Vendetta is all written somewhere. It's out there, daunting me. But anyway, that was my list of all the indie authors that I am being tormented by. I hope you didn't mind my super quiet voice, but I now have little ears that I need to be wary of. That's why I'm also going to make sure that my language is very clean in videos moving forward, because the last thing I want is for someone to stumble across me while recording this. I'm doing my best to be a first-time caregiver while also in a pandemic. So thank you so much for watching. This is still a super fun month, even if I'm not necessarily reading everything I intended to. I have changed a lot of my reading habits just to cope with a larger amount of stress and a lot less time than what I had before. But eventually I will find a new normal moving forward. I hope we can get things to some kind of schedule, some kind of setup. But it's just a very strange time in my life right now. And thank you so much for being understanding. And you're welcome that my vlogs are no longer flooding your subscription feed. But with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.